Today, I've recorded a quick comparison, if you consider 45 minutes a quick test, between DJI Pocket 3 OM Systems OM-5 with Panasonic 9mm f1.7 and S5IIX with Panasonic 18mm f1.8 lens. This time I used electronic stabilization together with IBIS on S5IIX and OM-5. Both are now much better than just IBIS, but the field of view is different now, so there is a downside. I've also set up exposure compensation to -0.7 for DJI Pocket to get the proper exposure in D-Log, and it seems it is much better than before, almost no highlights lost. So I'm searching for the perfect vlogging camera, and after reviewing the footage I can say this. Panasonic offers the best image quality and best dynamic range, but the stabilization is the worst of these three. Not much worse than the other two, but still with the electronic one there is some corner wobbliness. DJI Pocket offers the best stabilization, but I think the image quality of all three is the worst. But again, just a small tad worse. And it seems that with electronic stabilization on for the other two, the field of view on DJI is now the widest. And it seems that OM-5 offers the middle ground, the image quality is better than on Pocket 3, stabilization is better than on S5IIX, and body and lens combo weighs 550 grams, and you definitely need an external mic if you want to vlog outside. And the problem with the mic I reported before seems to be with the mic itself, since the popping happens whenever I've been swapping hands, and when I check other mic, it is not there. I think that OM-5 might be the best compromise between Pocket 3 and S5IIX. It also gives the flexibility of adjustable aperture and allows you to swap the lenses. And it has IP53 rating against dust and water, so the best of all three. Check my test and let me know in the comments which one you prefer. I'm torn between Pocket 3 and OM-5 for vlogging. I think Pocket 3 is much easier to use. It got really good integration with DJI wireless mic 2, and to record vertical content it's just a swap of the orientation of the screen. But OM-5 offer better image quality, shallower depth of field, and possibility to adjust depth of field. So it is more flexible. But there is also a price difference. DJI Pocket 3 Creator Combo is around $570, and OM-5 body alone is now, during the Black Friday, around $700 here, and I've seen it for $900 in the US, and this Panasonic 9mm f1.7 is another $400. Plus, you need a mic for around $50, so it is at least twice as expensive as DJI Pocket 3 Creator Combo, so the choice might be actually based on your budget. S5IIX with 18mm is actually $3K. You can save $100 if you choose S5 II without X, but it's not worth it in my opinion. I hope these tests are useful. They are for sure useful for me. Give me a like, affiliate links are in the description, and cheers mate! I hope I'm here last time with all the three cameras, so OM-5, S5IIX and DJI Pocket 3 in my bag, then I will switch. So I reviewed the footage from 2 days ago, and actually the stabilization on OM-5 is kinda horrendous. The stabilization on S5IIX is not that bad, although there is some wobbliness going in the corners. So then I checked the electronic stabilization on top of IBIS, and it seems in both cases it is much better, but there is a crop. So for OM-5 the crop is 19%, it seems, which means that this 9mm, which is equivalent of 18mm, becomes something like 21.8, 22mm, and on S5IIX the crop is 9%. So it seems that it becomes something around 19.5, maybe 20 millimeters, the field of view. with electronic stabilization on top of IBIS, which means that S5IIX should be still a bit wider than Pocket 3, but by really small margin, and OM-5 is actually tighter with electronic stabilization, which is not very good news. And regarding the OM-5, I've been shooting log, and log on this camera seems to be kinda saturated, and it turned out that actually there are, on top of the log, there are two picture profiles. So one is flat and one is OM-400, which seems that they baked in the LUT into the log footage. So I guess that was the case, that the footage been a bit saturated, although I'm not sure they bake in the LUT or they just display the LUT. It's hard to say. This camera is kinda hard to understand, but I'm not giving up on OM-5 because I think that the image it produces is a great middle ground between the full frame look and this action camera look Pocket 3 creates. I know that Pocket 3 is a bit better than action cameras, but there is something about that look that is not as pleasing as full frame look or even micro four thirds look. And so I want to explore OM-5 more to see its usable. The autofocus is really good. I do not have any complaints about it. So at the moment both cameras are in log and both got electronic image stabilization on top of IBIS, and I checked the stabilization briefly on OM-5, the electronic one, and it seems it's really okay. There is sometimes some choppiness when I switch hands on, when I shake my hand a lot, but other than that it seems okay, although it is definitely tighter than without electronic image stabilization. I've seen few reviews of this camera on YouTube, and the reviewers have shown the image stabilization and they said it's so great, blah blah blah, but they never mentioned they are using electronic one on top of the IBIS. Seems like ducks are flying. Anyway, they never mentioned that they use the electronic stabilization, and actually the IBIS Plus electronic is the default video stabilization for this camera, so maybe they didn't know, but actually I've been hoping that only IBIS would be enough, but it's definitely not, because on OM-5 the corner warpiness is just horrendous. The stabilization itself is okay, there is not much shakiness like for example on A7 IV or A6600 or any Sony camera, but the corner wobbliness and corner distortion is kinda annoying on OM-5, and it's a bit annoying on S5IIX. And of course it started to snow, so it is actually the good test of splash proofness of both of the cameras. The Olympus OM-5 got actual IP rating, it is IP53, so it's quite water resistant. I haven't found any IP rating for S5IIX, so it's hard to say, although they say it is splash and dust resistant, and I've seen people using these cameras as S5 series in the storm, so I guess that should be okay. My main concern is actually Pocket 3. Yeah, so this is the comparison between OM-5 and S5IIX. I can definitely see that S5IIX looks better in that comparison, but OM-5 is not slacking, and they are both on 640 ISO. S5IIX is f1.8, OM-5 is f1.7, 9mm, and S5IIX is 18. But with the crop, this is more like 22 and this is more like 20mm, so S5IIX should be wider, although it depends which hand I'm using, because at the moment when I'm using my right hand the S5IIX is closer to my face, so the field of view might be similar, but when I switch to my left hand, then the OM-5 is, I think, a bit closer, so that should be tighter on OM-5. Anyway, I would bring out the Pocket 3, and today I haven't made a mistake. I mean, I'm prepared. So I've set the Pocket 3 to -0.7 EV for lock, and I will see if there is any overexposure on Pocket 3 and how it works with -0.7 EV in lock. So see you in a bit. Okay, now I got a bit lighter setup, so it is DJI Pocket 3 against S5IIX, and this time the test is to see if the electronic stabilization on S5IIX is actually on par with the stabilization of DJI 3. I kinda doubt it, although it might be closer than before. And on DJI I'm in lock, -0.7 EV. Haven't made that mistake today, and I got my face tracking turned on, and on S5IIX I'm with IBIS plus electronic stabilization, so there is a crop. The field of view should be similar, it seems so. Of course the depth of field is shallower on S5IIX, but the difference in size is huge. The Pocket 3 is 205 grams with the tripod extension, and S5IIX is more than 1.1 kilograms, so it is quite heavy, although I can probably walk with two of them for a minute and then I have to switch hand. So yeah, and the only problem now with Pocket 3 is that it tracks my face in the middle, so that's the, I guess, only problem. And the other problem might be the fixed aperture. So if you want to show something which is far away behind you and you want your face also to be in the frame, then it is not possible because the thing behind you would be blurred, although you can click on the screen to change the autofocus point, and that way the Pocket 3 could autofocus on something which is in the background and you can show it body or face, then would be blurred. So that's the limitation. And I think other than that, I think the Pocket 3 seems to be perfect vlogging camera, so no complaints. Maybe except the ruggedness of the screen. I've seen already like 6 to 8 videos when the users got their screen broke off, so it is a bit concerning, so you have to think about it. I bought the DJI Care for my Pocket 3, so I'm covered, but then there is an exchange fee of 35 euros or something, so it's not a cheap deal. So I wonder how they would approach. I've seen that a lot of users got their cameras replaced immediately when they bought in the shops. They went to the shop and they got the exchange in a spot, so it's not a problem, it seems. In civilized countries probably, I'm not sure about here in Poland, because probably they would try to tell you it's your fault. My hands are getting a bit cold from gripping the jobby, but that's the sacrifice I can make for you. Just please give me a like for that sacrifice. So a few more steps to get into the darker part of the forest, and I still think that OM-5 might be the best solution, and the crow is crowing, and the OM-5 might be the best solution for vlogging. Probably I have to then mount it on the short monopod or short selfie stick to be able to show more in the frame with the crop of electronic stabilization. I've been hoping it is 10%. It is actually 19 to 20%. I checked this in DaVinci, so I layered footage with electronic image stabilization and without it on top of each other, and when I zoomed in it was 19% to get them lined up. And now I see that there is some overexposure in the sky on Panasonic, although these are just zebras at 80%, I think, so not a big deal. But this time the screen of Insta looks much better in terms of the exposure when this is minus 0.7 EV. So I think in log that's the solution to get proper exposure, minus 0.7 EV. I've seen some people use minus 0.3, some use minus 0.7, so you have to set it up to your liking. Okay, I guess I would swap Panasonic with OM-5 to see if with electronic stabilization it is okay against the Pocket 3, or if the Pocket 3 is still the king of vlogging cameras. So see you in a bit. Okay, so I guess this is the last comparison for today. This time this is DJI Pocket 3 on my left and OM-5 on my right, and the OM-5 is shooting log with flat profile, although the screen still seems to be much more saturated than on DJI, or much more saturated than S5IIX and OM-5. And OM-5 got IB stabilization plus electronic, so the field of view is around 22 millimeters, and it seems it is tighter. These ducks or cranes, hard to say. Would be kind of crazy if these are cranes, but something big, maybe wild geese or cranes actually, but I think wild geese. Anyway, it seems tighter on OM-5, but I guess I have to see this on a big screen. And DJI is also in lock this time. It is minus 0.7 EV, so should be exposed correctly, and it seems so. I haven't seen any blown highlights on my face, but maybe a bit on my nose. That was the problem last time when I checked with 0 EV. My face was a bit blown out, and also highlights on the sky has been lost. So this is the comparison between OM-5 and Pocket 3, and OM-5 got the potential to be the best all-around camera, I would say, because it's really small. It is 400 grams, like 420 with battery, and actually the battery life is really nice. I've been recording for like an hour already, and half of the battery is eaten. For a second I've been scared because there is a blinking red camera, so I thought it's a battery blinking, but no, the battery seems to be quite nice, even though I'm using external mic with plug-in power, so the mic is draining the battery too. It is going strong, so not a bad deal, although the small problem is that they do not include an external charger with the camera, so you have to charge it via micro USB in 2023, which is ridiculous, and it's kind of slow, and I don't like charging batteries inside the camera because you can damage your camera that way. So it is what it is, but I get a solution for it. I have to buy a plate for my Hacknell Cube Pro 2, and then I would be able to charge it externally. So not a big deal. Judging from the screen, the stabilization with the electronic is quite nice. Maybe I'm not walking that carefully as other YouTubers. I'm just walking, and I get this tendency to plant my heels, which is actually bad for my spine. But this is the way I walk. I guess I have to work on it, not for YouTube, just for my health. So maybe I just tripped, so that might be visible and might be nice test of the stabilization on both of them. And it's still snowing, but it's not snowing much, so I guess the DJI Pocket 3 shouldn't be damaged. And I haven't used the battery extension yet. Also, battery life in Pocket 3 seems to be excellent, because last session I recorded for like half an hour probably, and it went down only by 20%. So I've been really surprised with Pocket 3 battery performance too. And OM-5 actually got this quite nice look, I'd say, in terms of depth of field. It's like middle ground between the full frame look and the pocket camera look. The equivalent of depth of field is f3.4 at the moment with f1.7 lens. The light transmission is like for f1.7 it's probably T2, something around that. But the depth of field is like 3.4, and I'm not sure about the Pocket 3. I think it is f2 in terms of the light transition, but in terms of depth of field you have to count in the crop factor. So yeah, I'm not sure what is the crop factor, probably something around 4, I don't know. But still, if your face is quite close, then you got the background blurred, so it might be problematic to show something in the distance. I've done actually here the test on the trees in the background, and on the Pocket 3 the trees are kind of blurred, and yeah, you can guess that these are the trees. But if you want to show, for example, some building when you're vlogging, or some car or something in the background, then you might struggle on Pocket 3 to do it with your face in the frame. I guess it's not a very common situation to do it like that, although on one of my TikTok channels I do it every video, so it is a bit annoying for me, but not that this is a deal breaker. Yeah, maybe I will try to demonstrate it again, and I'm checking the field of view, and it seems that this is a bit wider on Pocket 3. So with the electronic stabilization, the field of view award goes to Pocket 3, I'd say. I prefer the wider field of view for vlogging, so I don't like this tight vlogs when you see only the face of the person and there is nothing else in the frame. It's kind of disturbing. So in that case, when the electronic stabilization is turned on OM-5, the field of view is better on Pocket 3, but I think the dynamic range is still better on OM-5, and depth of field is definitely more flexible on OM-5, because when I'm here and there is this big tree, but it doesn't show on the Pocket anyway, but it shows the trees maybe. So I'm changing the aperture on OM-5, and with f8 I guess you can see every tree back there, and with f11 everything should be in focus. And now it seems that the exposure for some reason changed on the OM-5. Maybe it's the case because I started recording when it was still kinda dark outside, and I think that Pocket 3 exposure is now really nice with this -0.7 EV tricking lock. So the only thing is how the stabilization looks like, but I can guess the OM-5 would be still worse than gimbal stabilization of the Pocket 3. So I guess now it is the question between the balance of being able to change the aperture of the shallower depth of field of a bit better dynamic range, I guess, on OM-5 against the wider field of view and better stabilization on Osmo. Plus on Pocket 3 the wireless mic is integrated really nice with the camera, so you don't have to press record on the mic to record internally. You got the recording inside the camera, and it is 32-bit float, which is really huge. Of course you can still record internally at the same time, so you got a safe track in the mic itself. But it seems like both of these cameras got their pros and cons, and now for some reason the exposure is darker, but the shutter speed is the same. And maybe I would also later check, not today, how the stabilization looks on the OM-5 when you use ND filter, if it is any better when you got 180-degree rule. I do not have ND filters for Pocket 3, and I'm not planning to buy them, I think, unless there is, probably not. Maybe there would be a circular one, but if you have to change the filter every time you start shooting, or every time the exposure changes, it might be annoying. But we'll see. And actually the ND filters for Pocket 3 are quite expensive, and it started to snow harder, so I guess I have to put the Pocket 3 into my bag. But I hope that the footage recorded would be enough to compare them at the end, because before, when I just checked only IBIS, the clear winner has been Pocket 3, because the stabilization on OM-5 with just IBIS is not acceptable in my opinion for vlogs. So that's it, and cheers mate.